Panera now delivers, so you can order good, clean food right to your office, or door, or porch, or backyard, or front yard, or apartment, or dorm, or castle, or shop, or worksite, or wherever. For lunch, dinner, and everywhere in between. Click the banner to order or visit PaneraBread.com. Participating locations only. Panera. Food as it should be.
Now, the 3 Martini Lunch with Greg Corombos and Jim Garrity.
And welcome, everyone, to the Monday edition of the 3 Martini Lunch. I'm Greg Corombos, along with Jim Garrity of National Review. We've got crazy martinis for you. Yes, the week is off to that kind of start. We're also brought to you today, though, by Dollar Shave Club, so that's some good news. Stop spending a fortune on gimmicky shave tech you don't need. Make the smarter choice by joining Dollar Shave Club. Get your first month for only $5. $5 with free shipping by going to dollarshaveclub.com/martini. More on them a little bit later in the podcast. And, of course, we hope everyone had a wonderful Mother's Day over the weekend. Jim, let's jump right into our first crazy martini, and that's that the sources and the rumors are once again swirling all around the Trump administration about this massive shakeup. It was all over the Sunday shows, and, of course, nobody who was actually on any of the Sunday shows had anything concrete to say about this, but there's plenty of rumors out there. Now Bannon's finally going to go. Priebus is going to go. Everybody's going to go except Jared and Ivanka, but we don't know when. It might be a while. It might be tomorrow. So all sorts of rumor mongering going on, Jim. So do we just ignore it? Does it show that there's something going on there? What do you make of it?
You know, I think I had said a few weeks ago, it's time to just kind of tune out all articles that have the begin with Trump is considering X. Right. And I'd gone through the list of, we're going to pull out of NAFTA. Jared's going to stay, but Bannon's on his way out. No, Reince Priebus is now Bannon and Priebus have formed an alliance against Jared. It's like Survivor. But the weird thing is that I realized this. What was the one Trump is considering X story that we never got? And the answer is we never got a story of Trump is considering firing James Comey, right? So in a way, there's kind of this argument that Trump is considering X is a sign that X is not going to happen. And what you really have to worry about is why the article that is not being mentioned this. Now, some of these folks like Politico and Axios say, look, after hours, Trump starts working the phones. He's always asking people, what do they think? What do they recommend? And maybe in the course of these conversations, people walk away from the conversation and think, I really think Trump's going to get rid of Bannon this time or something. But so far it hasn't happened. And, it seems like somebody like Bannon or Priebus or somebody's right on the edge, or Sean Spicer of the last couple of days, this sense of like, they're right on the verge of being fired, but they don't. And so I kind of feel like there's a lot of wasted energy, wasted concern, sound and fury signifying nothing. But this, considering how the Trump's decisions do give us considerable amount to talk about and digest and dissect and argue about whether it's the right call or not or something, then really there's not too much point of this, and yet this is consuming an enormous amount of time and energy of the press. And I don't think it's good for the press, and I don't think it's really good for the Trump administration either, because imagine being Sean Spicer, and every other day there's is Sean Spicer going to get fired today, report. At some point you just go out and you just do your job and hope for the best.
I'm also starting to wonder, Jim, if the person whoever is leaking that Trump is considering stuff is probably not in the loop very well, since none of that stuff seems to happen and they don't know what's going on with the other stuff. So
that's no Trump decision is made until it's made, right? I mean, at any given point he can change his mind on a dime. So what's the point of saying, I really think he's going to do it? Never mind. It's like a formula for Emily Litella moments.
All right. Well, the good news is that we have 2 more martinis, and they're crazy, but Trump's not involved in either one of them. So we're going to take a break from him for the rest of the day. Let's move over to Weakley County, Tennessee. Right now, there's a congressman in the 8th District named David Kustoff. He was in town for a special event on agriculture policy. He was touring the farms, held some sort of event, and then this crazy woman decided to follow his car. Wendy Wright, 35, is charged with felony reckless endangerment after she is accused of repeatedly following the Republicans' vehicle. According to the detective, she followed them and placed her vehicle in a manner next to them where they felt as if they were being forced off the road. With Kustoff and his aide and driver inside, Wright reportedly followed them several miles outside of Martin, Tennessee. When they stopped, she reportedly jumped out of her truck and beat on the windows. The detective then says the driver lowered the window enough to try and ask her a question, and she reached in. At that point, he started to drive off, and she placed herself in front of the vehicle. She's currently free on just a $1,000 bond. That's some pretty serious road rage, Jim. Obviously, you've seen some Republicans get pretty heated back in the early town halls of the Obama administration, but I'm pretty sure road rage didn't get involved and felony reckless endangerment charges filed.
So I'm going to observe. Do you remember the Tucson shooting?
Yes.
This, obviously, look, thank goodness this congressman was, in this case, was not injured. Thank goodness nobody died. But when you think about the way the Tucson shooting was covered, both by the national media, obviously, look, a shooting of a congresswoman is big news. It's not the sheer scale of it, but you may recall the likes of Paul Krugman saying, look, this is directly because of a Facebook post that Sarah Palin did. And it's one of those things where I don't think it's fair to expect everyone in politics to watch what they say because of the possibility that it could set off a crazy person. Because at the heart of crazy people is that they're crazy. You can't look for a particular logic in their actions or in the way they make decisions. Be careful, you might set off a nut job. Well, anything could set off a nut job. There's no particular logic to that. Having said that, is at some point, do we have to start being concerned about this? That this is not just speculative, that some liberal activists are so angry that they are physically trying to hurt either a Republican congressman or a staffer or themselves. I'm kind of left here wondering, does this woman have any friends? Does this woman have any family? Aren't there people who are worried about her? At some point, when you start saying, I'm going to go to this congressman's town hall and I'm going to chase him down, right? Where are the people to stage an intervention and say, look, you need something else to do with your life. You can be active on this members' opposition. You can try to primary them. There's a lot of stuff you can do. But running after them and trying to force a vehicular accident, your political passions are not supposed to be expressed as homicidal rage. And so I'm not surprised this is getting less attention. Yes, it's not quite as big a deal as the Tucson shooting, but it feels like the media is just not that interested because it doesn't fit the narrative. Oh, wait, maybe the progressive grassroots have some folks in their midst who are really losing their minds over the 2016 election.
Yeah, we see it in pretty much every protest.
Greg, that sounds like a very close call that this congressman has had. Thank goodness no one was hurt. I don't know about you. I could use another type of closeness, a different kind of closeness.
Yeah, how about
a
close
shave?
Oh, very close shave. Yeah, that's definitely a smarter choice than chasing down your congressman and standing in the way of his vehicle. Dollar Shave Club, definitely the smarter choice. And you will get a great shave at a great price, conveniently delivered right to your door. It is a no-brainer choice. You no longer have to schlep to the store to buy a cheap disposable razor that gives you a cheap shave. On the other hand, you no longer have to spend a fortune on razors with gimmicky shaving tech that you didn't need. And as I've mentioned, I've used Dollar Shave Club for a while now, and you've got a situation, like I mentioned last time, where I had to spend all this money on these replaceable cartridges for the larger brand names, and I would keep using them forever because I didn't want to spend that much money. So I tried to make them last longer, and that wasn't helping me to get a better shave. So the alternative maybe is to get the cheap disposable kind. Those only last for a day or two, and yes, you can get 1,000 of them for a couple of bucks, but ultimately you're not getting a good shave at all. So you've got Dollar Shave Club. They've got the good, sturdy handle. They've got good blades, and you only need to keep them for a week, and then I'm sure they would last longer. I can tell you, for example, due to my own forgetfulness or laziness, that they do last for a couple or 3 weeks if you want them to, but you don't need to. You can pop them off every week. Your supply keeps coming, and guess how much each blade is? $1. That's why they call it the Dollar Shave Club. So, plus the Dr. Carver shave butter is transparent for a more precise shave, helps to prevent ingrown hairs, and fights razor bumps. You can't beat this. If you're frustrated about your current shaving situation, Dollar Shave Club's definitely the way to go.
And now, listeners to the 3 Martini Lunch can make the smarter choice by joining Dollar Shave Club. For a limited time, new members can get their first month of the Executive Razor with a tube of their own Dr. Carver shave butter for just $5 with free shipping. And after that, razors are just a few bucks a month. That is a $15 value for just $5. Now, in your first month box, you'll get an awesome weighty handle, the full cassette of 4 cartridges, and a tube of the shaved butter. And after your first month, you get replacement cartridges shipping automatically at the regular price, no hidden fees, no commitments, and you can cancel anytime you like.
You can only get this offer exclusively at dollarshaveclub.com/martini. It's the only way in town. dollarshaveclub.com/martini. dollarshaveclub.com/martini. All right, let's move on to the crazy martini. Now, this is a crazy martini, I guess our third crazy martini, with a lot of different dimensions. We're going to talk about polygamy, first of all. This is an issue that, of course, a lot of people wondered if this is going to start getting mainstreamed once the Supreme Court decided that same-sex marriage was legal. So the New York Times magazine, I believe, put out this long piece, largely positive, about people with open marriages. They don't call themselves polyamorous. They call themselves non-monogamous. So apparently that makes it better. David French wrote a great counterpiece for National Review talking about that this really just amounts to selfishness and people trying to make sure they have the perfect sex life and so forth. The piece was written by a woman named Susan Dominus, and David French quotes her in his piece as saying, indeed, their morality is apparently so interesting and compelling that it made Dominus introspective and self-conscious. At one point in the piece, she seems to regard them as some kind of advanced tribe from a future reality. Quote, as I talked to couples over the last year, I found myself reflecting back on my own marriage. I started to feel less baffled by the boldness they were showing in opening up their marriages and more questioning of my own total aversion to the possibility. In interview transcripts, I saw that I was forever apologizing for my own conventionality. I felt at times that I was a rusty caliper trying to take the measurement of some kind of advanced nanotechnology. This is one area that the left is seeming to embrace. In fact, there's a new Gallup poll showing how liberal values are winning on a lot of issues, or gaining steam on a lot of issues, including 17% of Americans who find polygamy morally acceptable. On the flip side, Jim, there's an update to the Crazy Martini we did several months ago about people marrying themselves. Back then, there seemed to be a few isolated incidents over in Europe, but now it's becoming a bigger deal here in the U.S. Here's the CBS story on that. If the secret to a happy marriage is finding the right person, we can all stop looking, at least according to sologamists. They're part of a growing relationship trend in which people are tying the knot to themselves. Erica Anderson is one of them, not the one from National Review, I would point out.
Thank God. Yeah, no, she's that doesn't sound like her in the slightest, to be honest. Relatively abnormal names, not common. Someday there's going to be a serial killer named Jim Garrity. Like, no, I'm the other Jim Garrity. No.
Here's her quote. I would describe it as women saying yes to themselves. It means that we are enough, even if we are not partnered with someone else. So she had a whole ceremony with family and friends looking on where she married herself. It's got a name now, Jim, Sologamy. And there's even websites and places in Canada and San Francisco offering Sologamy ceremony kits, including a wedding band, daily affirmation cards, and vows. So sadly, this stuff's not going away. What do you make of the mainstreaming, or at least the attempt of mainstreaming polygamy and the rise of sologamy?
The first thing that jumped out about that, the open marriage article in the New York Times, Greg, was the line from the gentleman who's an open relationship, open marriage. They see other people. He said that he doesn't have a lot of jealousy triggers, but it bothers him when some man who is seeing his wife parks in his parking space in front of his house. That's where you draw the line, pal? That's what really upsets you? And I debated going into greater length than this at the Morning Jolt, decided against it. Good news, 3 Martini Lunch listeners, you get to hear this point. So here's this guy, and he's got clearly a strong sense of emotional attachment to his parking space. It is something that is important to him. It is something that he values. It is something where when he is in that parking space, he feels at home in the world. He is where he belongs, and everything is right. And he doesn't feel any of this apparently towards his wife. So, as much as I can't say I totally endorse this lifestyle, you can at least start to understand why she might have a wandering eye, right? If this guy's much more motivated and feels much more passionately and strongly about his parking space than his wife, well, okay, maybe I put my finger on one of the problems in this marriage there. So, that was odd. Then for sologamy, besides the fact that it's a mouthful and not really fun to say, a couple people were quoting the Woody Allen line, at least she's marrying someone she loves. this bizarre point. So what do you do if you go through with the sologamy ceremony and you formal ceremony which you marry yourself? And what happens if you meet that special someone?
Yeah.
Do you need to divorce yourself? Are you cheating on yourself? Like, I don't, the other thing, or is that point, is the sologamy ceremony a sign that you're not going to find the special someone? Because if you do, one of the first things they'll, oh, have you been married before? And they'll say, yes, I married myself. If that's not going to send the other person running in the opposite direction, like, oh, you mean you gave up? No, I had a formal ceremony and my friends gave me gifts as I wore a white dress and announced that I was marrying myself. I can't imagine, like maybe there's some nice young fellow out there who's really into that. The New York Times article does, and this sologamy thing suggests that the world has every kind, and perhaps the world takes all kinds. But I can't give a full-throated endorsement of any of these sorts of things because, look, as far as we know, nobody in the open marriage article has killed anybody. No one's gone the full OJ. Fine, okay. I hope everything's turning out well for them. But let's just say that there's a reason this has not worked in lots of societies. So good luck to everybody in there. I hope everything works out. I hope the kids turn out okay. Color me skeptical, Greg.
Yeah, very skeptical. In fact, David points out that even in the relatively positive New York Times article, it points out that there's a lot of issues because usually it's one spouse, surprisingly women more often initiating this idea. And ultimately, there's going to be one partner who's not finding their quote unquote fulfillment. So they get jealous of the other one and then things all spiral out of control anyway. But, Jim, on the sologamy front, the very end of this story about this Erica Anderson, not from National Review, says Anderson just celebrated her 1-year anniversary with a solo trip to Mexico. She said even though she's married to herself, she is dating and open to marrying another person. So maybe she'll be quoted in the next story on polyamory.
So she went straight from sologamy to polygamy?
Yes.
She can't, like, how crazy idea. How about find the one right person who's another human being, like a separate biological entity, different DNA and everything. You actually have this interaction. There's this yin-yang idea that different people have these complementary values and ideas and things that they do in a relationship and all that kind of stuff. But, if only somebody wrote a good book about that, right, Greg?
Yeah. Heavy lifting, baby.
Yeah. That's the second most important thing we can sell in this podcast.
That's right. Ooh, an extra allusion to Dollar Shave Club. Congratulations, folks. You get an extra plug on today's podcast. Fantastic. Jim, I'm sorry to tell you it's not Friday yet, as we talked about last week. So 3 crazies to kick off the week. Maybe we'll do a little better tomorrow.
The fun thing to see this week will be how many days we have a non-crazy. We've really lowered the standards here. Just give me one bit of news that is genuinely good instead of just off-the-charts crazy.
Jim, we'll try. Have a good day. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, Greg.
Jim Garrity of National Review. I'm Greg Columbus of Radio America. Thanks again for being with us. And don't forget the great deal at Dollar Shave Club. That's dollarshaveclub.com/martini. And join us on Tuesday for the next 3 Martini Lunch.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, when you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Panera now delivers, so you can order good, clean food right to your office, or door, or porch, or backyard, or front yard, or apartment, or dorm, or castle, or shop, or worksite, or wherever. For lunch, dinner, and everywhere in between. Click the banner to order or visit PaneraBread.com. Participating locations only. Panera. Food as it should be.